Good evening, everyone. This is Atmospheric Alex here, and welcome to a rather urgent weather update here. We're going to be talking about a major blizzard that is going to be impacting portions of Minnesota, into Wisconsin, Michigan, all other surrounding areas as well, and a pretty major ice storm as well for portions of the Northeast. So I strongly suggest that if you live up in those areas that you pay attention to today's video and take the information a little bit seriously. As we start off the video with our analysis here, we're currently not talking about all that much going on yet. We have a little bit of a winter storm ongoing across the Rockies right now, but again, you all are used to that up there, so I'm not going to cover that too much. Some other precipitation, some other areas. Then a couple of clipper systems up here in Canada, but really nothing on the radar just yet. But wait until I show you this big blizzard coming on up for tomorrow night, and then even a bit longer than that. Now, before we do that, we're going to go over our alert map here, and there is a ton of stuff going on in the northern US. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous to see. Look at all these alerts in place, and anything you see in the orange, like right here, these are blizzard warnings. So that should be taken very seriously if you're in those areas. We have high wind watches and warnings up. We have heavy freezing spray warnings up, storm warnings. We could be talking about some storm surge along the coast of Lake Superior, and I'll get into that in just a little bit. But very serious conditions. We're going to have ice storm warnings likely in place out here, and just a whole slew of just activity. Now, this is a little bit shocking. We're taking a look at a risk of severe weather tomorrow due to how dynamic this storm system is going to be. We have a level 1 out of 5 on the severe weather scale across portions of the Midwest and Ohio Valley right within here. I do expect a upgrade to a slight risk to be in place for maybe the northern portions of this risk area, maybe like right up within here, something like that, as I have seen some stronger storms popping up on, say, the HRRR model. Unfortunately, we cannot go over all the storm analysis because we have much bigger fish to fry, and that is the blizzard. But we'll continue going over the outlook. We do have a 2% chance of tornadoes here. Definitely could see one occurring, a wind risk, and then we should also have a hail risk as well. I'm not sure why we don't. I would say it's possible for a tornado, damaging winds, and maybe even some large hail as well, with this spring-like air mass coming on through. Temperatures in the 60s, almost even 70s in these areas. Very abnormal. Not impossible for this time of year, but certainly a little bit surprising, right? Now, as we take a look at our winter storm severity index here for day 1, this is going to be for tonight. We're talking about very strong winds across some areas here, prompting moderate to even major winter storm impacts, blowing snow, maybe even some ground blizzard conditions are going to be possible in some areas. As we move into tomorrow, we're talking about a much more significant impact. A few areas of major impact concern, but directly along the coast of Lake Superior. And I have to point this out to you all. We do have some extreme impacts possible due to coastal flooding and maybe even some storm surge, as we could have upwards of 25 to 30-foot waves pounding along the shoreline out of the north. That is very serious. And some of these areas here, like this island here north of Munising, that is going to definitely experience a lot of flooding. And so we're going to have to really watch out. If you live right along the coastline, you may want to back up a little bit, because again, coastal flooding is no joke. And this system is going to be very similar to a tropical storm. So probably should be preparing like it is a tropical storm in some areas. I'm going to be totally honest with you all there. Do have some extreme impacts into Lake Michigan, as well as 20+ foot waves are going to be likely. And as we move into day 3, you can see our ice storm across these areas here. We do have a major to even an extreme impact. As we zoom in really closely here, you can see some extreme impact zones where you could be talking about 3/4 of an inch to maybe even upwards of an inch of ice. That is going to be very dangerous, and some very strong winds with that as well, which could down trees, power lines, and is going to cause all roads to be like an ice rink out there. As we take a look at our future radar here from our HRRR model, basically what the radar could look like as we head into tomorrow, You could see starting early in the morning, we do have some snow going across Sioux Falls, Fargo, Grand Forks, Omaha, Nebraska there. And this system really becomes active. You could see some severe weather right within here as I find a frame to pause on. We do have some strong to severe storms in northern Indiana, as it's likely going to be, I would have to say, around 10 to 12 Central Time tomorrow, and these move on through. And then we have other rounds of severe weather as well that we need to watch out for. Again, large hail, even tornadoes are going to be possible, some damaging winds. And then our blizzard actually begins to set up here across Minnesota, Wisconsin. Take a look at your PGF, your pressure gradient force right within here. All your ISO lines tightly packed together like sardines. This is going to cause very strong winds in these areas as you have very dramatic pressure changes within even just a few miles. So within short distances, that's a lot of wind and very heavy snow falling here going into Green Bay. And you can see the timing right down here where my mouse is at. But you could see as we move on through, our blizzard begins cranking like crazy in the UP of Michigan here, northern Wisconsin. This is going to be a major issue. Tons of ice, but we'll cover that in a minute. Very heavy snow, damaging winds. Holy smokes, very low visibility. I'm going to be honest, stay off the roads tomorrow. It's going to be very dangerous out there. And these winds continue cranking around the low pressure system, 977 millibars. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this. Will be a bomb cyclone. We need a 24 millibar drop in pressure within 24 hours for it to be considered as one. Which if we shuffle the clock through 24 hours, you can see there's not even a low pressure system hardly, maybe 1,001 millibars. But as we go into tomorrow, it's down to 977. So this could potentially wind up being a bomb cyclone, which is, again, a very dangerous situation. Whether or not it becomes one or not, the impacts are going to be the exact same. So classification does not matter with a system like this. Very strong winds whipping around that low pressure system and tons of lake effect snow to follow. It's going to be a very dangerous few days up ahead for you all in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan, and then other areas we'll cover in just a minute. Yes, we do have a significant freezing rain threat as well. You can see some of it starting up in central Pennsylvania as we head into tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. Heavy icing occurs across central New York State, going into Vermont. These are some of the deepest magenta pink colors I think I've seen on this output here. Very heavy ice is going to be downpouring, and you can see that continues, even mixing into some sleet, which is only going to add to the issues. I mean, you're already going to have a solid, thick layer of ice on the ground mixed in with a ton of sleet freezing right on contact to that ice. You need to stay off of all roadways, and you need to have ways to get informed because this is looking very significant. And just some of these valleys are going to get crushed with ice. You can see pretty big bout of heavy snow moving into portions of Maine there towards the tail end. But this icing could last for 24 hours in some locations. That's not what you wanted to hear at all, is it? Our winds with this system will be very strong. As you can see, we're talking around 50 to almost 60 mile an hour wind gusts here, creating your ground blizzard conditions. But once this low pressure system really cranks up, here's when things get serious. Take a look at this coming right off of Lake Superior, a bit of a flash warning there. We're talking about winds gusting upwards of 60 miles an hour, very heavy snowfall, and you're going to see some storm surge with conditions like that. And then along Lake Michigan, same thing. The Chicago area gusting up to around 60. Everything you see in the kind of pinkish lavender colors is 55 miles an hour. You can see a sting jet coming right off of Lake Superior, gusts up to 65 possible. And then going into Buffalo, New York, gusts up to 70. And also in your ice affected areas, gusts between 30 to 40 miles an hour are possible. That is a very dangerous combination. Your trees will be weighed down substantially already. And with those winds, they will get toppled over, knocked over really quickly. So are your power lines as well. All right, now time to go through with your expected snowfall amounts, your forecast from your National Weather Service. You can see a little bit of snow in Iowa, nothing too significant yet. We're going to move on through up north here. This is when things start to get a little more serious, right? Take a look at this. we're going to only focus over here for now because I have more graphics for the areas off to the east. We're talking about 2 to 6 inches of snow in Grand Rapids, Minnesota there, and other areas upwards of 6 inches there. St. Cloud 4 to 7 inches, Hinckley 5 to 9 inches. Again, we'll go further east with due time. Now, as we move deeper into Wisconsin here, we're kind of taking an interesting look, a little bit of a zigzag at things here. You can see we are talking around 10 to 17 inches of snow for Land O'Lakes, 7 to 13 for Florence. We're talking around 4 to 8 for Sturgeon Bay there, 3 to 6 for Green Bay, and all the other areas in between, 3 to 6 for Appleton there in Wisconsin. And it's going to be snowing like crazy. A lot of areas in northern Wisconsin will receive upwards of a foot of snow or even more than a foot. A little further south here, Wisconsin Dells between 3 to 5 inches here, Sheboygan around 2 to 4 inches. Areas off to the south, not nearly as much snow, and therefore we're going to move on with our graphics because we really want to focus in on our most impacted areas of our blizzard, and not just focus on these lighter snowfall totals here. This is when stuff gets thrown right out the window, right? Look at this. Into the UP of Michigan, 13 to 23 inches for Ironwood there, 12 to 21 inches there, 15 to 27 for Marquette. We're talking about 17 to 29 for Munising, 17 to 26 for Grand Marias. That is very significant. 15 to 22 inches in Newbury, 10 to 17 in Sault Ste. Marie. This is going to be very significant up here, and you can even see some contours leading you upwards of 30 inches of snow being possible. Yeah, 2 to almost 3 feet of snow in some areas. Wow. What a blizzard that's going to be hitting a lot of locations in the UP. And I have to show this. This is going to be your highest end potential with this blizzard. You can see it's very unlikely, a 10% chance of occurring, but if we do see an overperforming system, then we could see upwards of 33 inches in Marquette, almost 3 feet in Munising, 33 inches in Grand Marias, and quite a few areas getting upwards of 36 to almost 40 inches. Again, this is going to be your very high-end amounts, so I do not expect 40 inches, but if we see our system overperform enough, then we're going to have to keep a close eye on things. And your snow drifts, those are definitely going to be 3 to 4 feet, if not even higher than that. Goodness gracious, don't even get me started on that. And then all other areas as well going to see an absolute dumping of snow. Now, as we look at our ice accumulations here, I should say ice accretions, we're talking around 1/10 of an inch, maybe a little bit more for Grand Marias and Newbury right there. Just some isolated pockets of icing is going to be possible in some portions of the UP, almost 1/10 of an inch for Sault Ste. Marie as well. And as we move into portions of northern Michigan, or really, I guess I should say eastern Michigan here, 8 to 13 inches in Pelliston, 8 to 11 in Gaylord, 6 to 11 Traverse City there, 5 to 9 right there as well. So lake effect snow is going to be significant on the back end as well, which is why you can see your contours extending all the way out like this, because you're going to have a ton of wind, a ton of snow behind your low pressure system that will last for a ridiculously long amount of time. Significant icing is going to be possible in some areas. We're talking around 1/4 of an inch of ice for Sault Ste. Marie here. For Trout Lake, Drummond Island, some areas may even try and squeeze in a 1/2 an inch of freezing rain. That is some quite bad news for you all, and with those winds, you're going to see damage from this for sure. Lake effect snows will continue further off to the south here. Cadillac between 6 to 9 inches, Ludington 4 to 7 inches, Muskegon 3 to 7 inches, Grand Rapids 3 to 6, and all other areas in between, Kalamazoo 3 to 6 as well. Your lake effect snow bands are going to go out quite far like this, again behind your low pressure system, all your damaging winds moving through. Now for arguably one of the most important aspects of this entire system. I know the snow is going to be bad, but your freezing rain in your northeast, that is what we need to pay attention to. We are talking about a ton of ice here through a lot of locations. Gloversville, 4/10 of an inch of ice being possible. Lake Placid, around 1/2 an inch of ice. And in your valley locations, 1/2 an inch or more of ice is going to be likely. That is not what you want to hear. It just gets worse. As we head into Vermont here, upwards of 1/2 an inch of ice here in Newcomb. Look at these valley locations, upwards of 7/10 to 8/10 of an inch of ice. Again, 3/4 of an inch. Wow. That is very dangerous. A lot of areas picking up a half an inch of ice as well. This, you need to stay very high alert if you're in this area here. Into portions of Massachusetts, you're going to see more ice. You could see a tenth of an inch for Albany, New York, tenths of an inch for Pittsfield there, Greenfield, tenth of an inch. Manchester up there in, I believe that's Maine. I think that's Maine. It's hard to see state borders here. Around 2/10 of an inch of ice. Wow. And just look again, look at this up here. You're going to see a half an inch of ice in a lot of locations. Freiburg in Maine, nearly a half an inch of ice. Rumford, around 4/10 of an inch of ice. And you could see all the other areas being severely impacted as well. And even far northern Maine, a tenth of an inch, almost 2/10 of an inch of ice. Now, just one more thing. We're going to take a look at our long range pattern here on our GEFS ensemble. I want to do this at the end of every single video, and I'm going to try and make it fast, right? We're just going to take a look at how our low level temperatures are progressing on this particular model and what we need to be watching out for on our guidance here. So you see, a lot of cold air coming through, but again, I want to focus on the end of the model run here to see how far south this -2 degrees Celsius line can get. That'll dictate whether or not the southeast could see a snowy January or not. And there's other factors as well, but I like looking at this for a basic analysis. You can see our line is creeping much further south as we head into mid-January here. And by the time, look at this, by the time we get into around the 15th, and this is not a forecast, but this is a possibility, our line does in fact dip all the way down into East Tennessee here. So I do expect our snowfall chances across the southeast to continue to uptick on our model guidance as we continue moving towards mid-January and maybe even a bit before that as well. This is a very classic look for the month of January. You see your very strong polar vortex signature kind of whipping across like this, bringing frequent Arctic outbreaks kind of stretching down kind of like this. And that's what we're going to be monitoring everything for. Our European ensemble here in terms of our snowfall definitely has uptrended. It now shows a mean of around 5 inches in East Tennessee, around 4 to 4.5 inches in West Tennessee. And let's take a look at other areas. Look it up here in Chicago, a mean of a foot of snow. We're going to have to wait and see. These tend to be a little bit strange. They'll get a little bit weird the further north you go, but it does look like our southern snow signal is starting to really materialize. Take a look at how far south this 2-inch line goes. That is going to be something to watch. And with that being said, thank you all so much for tuning into today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I apologize if this was a lengthy video. The level of concern was quite high for this one, honestly. It's going to require another upload probably tomorrow afternoon before the storm starts, and we could potentially see an even higher level of concern if our ice keeps uptrending, if our low pressure system keeps uptrending. It's going to be like a wintry tropical storm out there across some areas, so you need to prepare for that. All right, smash that like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to my little corner of the weather community. Share this with friends and family on social media, please. And also feel free to leave a comment in the section below if you enjoyed the video and if you found it very informative as well. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Stay very weather aware out there, and I will see you back here tomorrow.